Hi guys, are you ready for the showdown?
Okay. Actually, we're just going to talk about Lisbon versus Valencia for places to live for expats.
To be honest, we didn't actually live in either one, but we spent 3 months in Lisbon and we spent a month in Valencia just now. And then we came back to Lisbon right after the Valencia stay so we could A/B it. And that's what we're going to share with you today.
So there's no doubt that we still love so many things about Lisbon. I mean, look at our courtyard.
Yeah, look at this. It's an awesome place for staying. Yeah.
Amazing Airbnb. So there's so many things that we love about Lisbon. The vibrancy of the city, there's nothing like it. It's so beautiful and completely unique to anywhere else that we've ever been.
I mean, it's got the hills, it's got the colors, it's got the light, it's got so much vibrancy, and the people are really coming out of a shell they've been in for many years, and it does feel like a city that's really coming into its own.
One of the many things we love about Lisbon is the ability to be like in a couple of hours in the mountains, beautiful, beautiful mountains and so much nature, or down south in the Algarve at the fabulous, endless beaches and warm water. So you're not kind of stuck in a city when you live in Lisbon. You have access to so much nature.
For example, we went and visited some friends last week in Ponta de Lima, which is about 40 miles north of Porto. And it's an amazing place that we had been to before, and it didn't really grab us that time. And it was very rainy and really cold. But this time, it's coming into the spring, the sun was out, and we started seeing it through different eyes, and our friends got an amazing house up there for an amazingly good price. And when we saw what that place could be through their eyes, it really made us think about it again. Like, northern Portugal has some really unique beauty that you don't necessarily have in Lisbon.
For us, Ponta de Lima's a little sleepy, but I wouldn't rule it out in the future.
You mean we're not old enough? That's impossible to think about. So on a positive note, Lisbon has an amazing food scene. It's got an amazing nightlife here. There's tons of great clubs, and there are festivals all the time. It's a very celebratory society here, and we were here for a festival just the other night. When we came in, it was what was it called? St. Anthony's?
It's St. Anthony's Day. It is the Lisbon Sardine Festival.
Okay, now if you liked sardines, this may have been more exciting than it was to us, but the fact is everybody comes out and goes ballistic, and it's really, really fun. I mean, we got caught up in a drum group that was on the street just playing, and there was hundreds of people. And it really felt like we were in the middle of something special. And I love that.
Yeah, it was amazing. They shut down a lot of streets, which if you're driving is not so fun. But if you're not, it's amazing. And the streets turn into complete party scenes. The Liberdade has a huge parade and festival down there. And then all these side streets, you have people out grilling sardines.
Yeah,
and
out on
eating
the street.
Sardines and drinking beer and wearing green curly wigs. I'm not sure what that was about, but
I don't either, but they did wear hats that looked like sardines. There was a bunch of those.
there were a lot of sardine hats.
Yeah, not a fashion statement I would make, but it's, but they're all getting into the frame of mind, and it's really kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a great party and a great night. Now, on the downside, everything in Lisbon is so much more expensive, even than it was 2 years ago when we first came. We cannot believe how much the prices have gone up and the cost of living has increased.
For everything.
For everything. Food, restaurants are really expensive. Honestly, comparable with Southern California restaurants.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that when we first came here. It was actually such a deal. Every time you'd have a meal, you'd be like, whoa, it's only this? Now, the wine is still cheap, but when you buy wine in a restaurant, they're starting to charge prices like California. And, it shouldn't be that way, because really good Portuguese wine is like $8 in the store.
We went somewhere the other night and it was $30 for a glass of wine, which is really New York prices. So
you can get a case of wine for $30 here.
Yeah, you totally can.
So what they're counting on is that you're not going to notice or something. I went into a store 2 nights ago to buy some water, and it was a big water thing, and I paid $2 for that same size bottle of water previous days. I walked up and I said, how much is this? And he said, $5. And I said, no, it isn't. I'm not buying that. And I put it back. And he said, how much you want to pay? Okay, so when you start getting that kind of stuff, you know that there's opportunists everywhere looking for the Americans that will be dumb enough to pay double what they should. And I think this is what led to the problem right now.
Right. Sort of like the tapas restaurant that we went to. Went to a tapas restaurant, unfortunately, really stupidly, without looking at the reviews. And it was in
you did look at the reviews, no?
Well, I looked at something.
You looked at the wrong
I looked at the wrong reviews, yeah. I didn't dig deep enough. And it was in a really touristic area, which, is never smart. And they bring out the stale bread and some chorizo and this aioli that we don't like.
Right.
Put on the table and said, welcome. And then we ordered some other food, which none of it was good at all.
No.
And at the end of it, we get a bill and they charged us like 10 euros for the food that we didn't order. They just are really kind of sneaky, and that sort of thing.
We've seen this before.
Yeah.
This isn't new, but to have it and have the food be bad, that's what doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Anyway, but it does feel like part of it is probably because it's high season. And
that's true.
There are a lot of tourists here and people need to make their money. We get it, but it's very disappointing how incredibly expensive things are. And then when we started looking at real estate again, our minds were blown. We've been reading about how much things have increased even in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And certainly thought things were going to decline because of the end of the Golden Visa program. But
no. As a matter of fact, it keeps going up, and it doesn't really make sense because I think people are holding on to something that they thought was going to happen, and they're not willing to let go of that thought. Now, this happened in the Bay Area. For many down cycles of real estate, the Bay Area kept going up because everybody kind of got together and said, you know what? We're not dropping our prices. It's just going to keep going up here. And it worked for quite a while. It is now, obviously, as you know, San Francisco area is kind of imploding. But the fact is, there needs to be a reality check here that we're hoping comes at some point without a lot of pain for the people here. Because what happened was Americans went in because the Golden Visa, paid whatever they asked for, kind of like that guy with the water, and it drove the prices up so high that no one here can afford these houses. And Americans bought them for investments and really can't even rent them now. Yeah. So it's really starting to become like there's gonna be a showdown about that at some point, and things may adjust. But right now, it's out of whack.
I think it will come down because there's been a change in the short-term rental laws here as well, and they're not letting people that came in as investors so easily just do Airbnb for their places. And so it's going to change the way things. I think go, and the prices of real estate. But it's been very rough for the locals, I can tell you that.
So all in all, it's a beautiful city. We love Lisbon, and we always will love Lisbon. It's a bit rough around the edges, and the cost, as we just said, is a little out of whack for what it is at this point in its development. Valencia, on the other hand, surprisingly, was about half the price in every category. And we did not expect that. In fact, personally, I thought Spain was kind of out of reach, and I didn't even think about Spain because I've always thought it was just going to be really expensive. So Valencia is very affordable. The rents are about half the price of the rents here. The day-to-day cost of living, food, restaurants, wine, transit, anything is about half. And that is really something to take note of. And obviously, it put a big feather in Valencia's hat.
It did. Valencia is quite a bit more polished, I would say, than Lisbon.
Yeah.
It's more, there's less construction everywhere. There's still building going on and renovations going on, but it's not like Lisbon. Lisbon, every, couple of buildings is still either blown out or under construction.
And there's a lot of vacant buildings that are boarded up still.
Yeah, there are a lot of vacant buildings here, and that's not the case in Valencia. The other thing is, it's because of the topography of Valencia, it's also flat. It's amazing for riding bikes, and they have so much green space and places for people to just be outdoors throughout the entire city. the other thing that we noticed and really loved was there were a lot of disabled people. You could see people out in wheelchairs or walkers. And again, because it's so flat and so accessible everywhere, it's really, a good place to be if you have any kind of disability, any kind of physical disability.
Yeah, so it makes it feel very inclusive and very family oriented, because when you saw people who were disabled, they usually had someone with them that seemed like it was their kid or whatever. And it just feels like families really stick together there a lot, and they do here too. I know Portuguese are a very family oriented culture, but you saw the families together more in Valencia because they are out and about and they are able to be mobilized together no matter what. And that is a real positive, I think.
Yeah. I mean, in Valencia, you also have the benefit of being able to go, an hour and a half outside of Valencia and be in the mountains like we were, or go down south and be down in Marbella. That was not an hour and a half, but even an hour and a half outside of Valencia, you can be in really beautiful southern Spain beach towns, Costa Brava beach towns. So that's another big plus for Valencia as well.
And the water is Mediterranean, so it's warmer, noticeably warmer than the water in Portugal, all along Portugal.
Yeah. I mean, we were able to swim at the beach 15 minutes from our house in Valencia because it's a Mediterranean beach, and that was in May. So yeah, another big win. But going back to the cost of living, we had Michelin level meals with a bottle of wine that were 90 euros. And the most of our meals were much, much less than that. Because they grow so much of their own produce around Valencia, there's a plethora of fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and they are all so reasonably priced. We were blown away.
Yeah, super high quality food there, and affordable. Other than this one place that sold us cherries for 14 euros. I don't know what happened there.
I think we got ripped off.
I think it was a vortex of bad pricing. But other than that, it's been really pretty good.
I think we just got ripped off.
Yeah.
The other thing that I like more about Valencia than Lisbon are the grocery stores. So there's so many more large supermarkets that are more familiar, I think, to an American in Valencia than there are in Lisbon. Lisbon tends to have smaller supermarkets and then smaller local markets, which is charming and wonderful. But sometimes you just want to go into a big store and do all of your shopping.
And not have somebody try to charge you twice as much as they should. I mean, they're really more like, supermarkets that we're kind of used to. They have a lot of everything and the prices are decent and it's not at all, negotiable.
Right.
In general, I like the food there a little more than I like the food in Lisbon. I mean, the food that you go out and buy, Portuguese food versus Spanish food. Spanish food just sits a little better with me. And so that's a plus for Valencia. Now, we've had amazing meals in Portugal, don't get me wrong, but Valencia, the food there, all the Spanish food somehow just hits the spot.
Well, we love so many things about Lisbon, and I feel like we're cheating even saying this.
We are.
We have decided that we are going to give Valencia a try, and those people agree with us.
We just got applause. It was meant to be. So now we're going to go back home, take care of business, probably rent our house, figure out we have a couple businesses that we started on this trip that we are going to follow through and see which ones we want to put effort into on that. And then we're going to figure out, because now this is the plan, to come back and try living in Spain. Now, to cover all the bases of our nomadic lives, we can come to Portugal in about 45 minutes for probably about $49 airfare and visit anytime we want. And we will be coming here because we have friends here and we do love Portugal and we do love Ponta de Lima and we do want to stay in touch with all of our friends and we do want to keep soaking up what Lisbon does have to offer. We're just going to do it from a Valencia home base. So when we go home, we're just going to start putting the ducks in a row, and that's going to be our goal for the next probably 7 months.
Yeah. So join us as we figure this next stage out.
And we promise we're not going to change our minds again and just move to Iceland, okay? We're not going to do that.
No, although it's supposed to be fabulous.
So if this kind of thing is helpful, subscribe, hit like, all those things you know how to do, and we will see you soon.
Ciao.
Ciao.